So with that, for Seattle position 1, Shannon Braddock, George Capistani, Pavel Gorberman, I know he's not here, Lisa Herbold, Thomas Koch, and I think he's on his way, he's coming from the Sierra interviews, Charles Redmond, Phillip Tavel, Brianna Thomas, and that's who we have. If you'd like to come to the front, it'll be our pleasure to hear you. Thank you so much. I'm not sure how you want to do this. If you want to go grab some, we'll have everybody stand here and we'll pass the mic. So, so if again you'll have any questions. This is also a test of physical endurance. So we'll let you know. Mr. Dick Gitter will also call time on you. So if you have any questions, again, let David know, and we'll start from right to left. Thank you so much.
Hi, thanks everyone for being here tonight and giving us the opportunity to introduce ourselves. My name is Shannon Braddock, and I'm really excited about this opportunity to run for Seattle City Council District 1. I have been a over 16-year resident of West Seattle. I have 3 kids, all going to Seattle Public Schools. And so I'm very rooted in the community in South Park and in West Seattle. I have been on the board of the West Seattle Food Bank. I've also been on the board of the Lafayette PTA as their legislative representative, and I'm currently on the board of directors for West Side Baby, a great organization that does some work throughout our communities here. And I currently also am the Chief of Staff to King County Councilmember Joe McDermott, who represents District 8 on the King County Council. So all of these experiences and this perspective, I think, will make me a really great representative for the precincts of District 11 at the Seattle City Council, and frankly, for Democrats. I'm also a PCO for the 34th District Democrats, and have been involved with the 34th District Democrats for many years, well before I was working for Joe, and before I decided to run for this office. So I very much believe in the values and the principles of our Democratic Party, and I'm excited to be here and answer any questions. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Brianna Thomas. I am also running for Seattle City Council position 1. Just curious, do we have anybody who's in the district? Thank you for, seriously, thank you so much for your indulgence. Thank you, Martha. Really, thank you so much for your indulgence. Okay, a little bit about me. I, in reverse order, recently worked as a homelessness advocate for a statewide organization working to create policy that ends homelessness in our state and creates affordable housing. I was the field director for the Yes for CTAC $15 minimum wage campaign, which made its way right up the freeway into the city of Seattle that's being phased in right now. I'm a volunteer in philanthropy committee for the Church Council of Greater Seattle, and I've been working with those good folks for the last 9 years now. I am on the e-board of the 34th District Democrats. I'm on the board of directors for the Washington Bus, which is an amazing youth engagement organization working to get young people registered and actually turned out to vote, because that's a 2-part process, as you well know. I am also on the board of Working Washington, which is aiming to do work for folks that don't have a union but still should have respect and dignity in the workplace. I look forward to learning more about the 11th District outside of our 4 precincts of South Park. I've lived in the 1st for about 8 years, in the Morgan Junction, Alaska Junction, Admiral Junction, and in South Park before and after the bridge. So I know what it's like to catch the bus, the 132 in the cold and the wind and the rain. And I will stop talking now, and thank you for your indulgence again.
Hi, my name is Phillip Tavel. I am also running for Seattle City Council for District 1. And over the last 25 years, I've been an entrepreneur and an attorney. I also taught physics. For the last 10 years, I've actually been a public defender in Seattle. 17 years ago, I came and visited a friend living in West Seattle and absolutely fell in love with the area. In fact, I was in my 3rd year of law school at the time and finished my last exam, packed up a Ryder truck and moved out here. 8 years ago, my grandmother and my parents came out here as well because they knew I was not going back to New York. And I got married out here, and my son was born here, 3 years old now, and we're in co-op preschool together. And the fact is, I see Seattle as a town that has a lot of potential it hasn't realized. And there are a lot of issues in this town that I think there's leadership missing. You know, it's the tunnel, it's homelessness, it's the police, it's our schools, it's all over the place. And each one of these issues isn't specifically a Democrat or a Republican issue. It's not about the minute details, it's about lack of foresight. It's about not planning for these coming around. The fact that we constantly have these issues that come up because we haven't attacked them ahead of time. We haven't been proactive. And that's the reason I'm running, because I love where I live, I love Seattle. The fact that we now have district elections is a wonderful thing, because we can have a voice that's from the neighborhood, for the neighborhood. And I haven't spent the last 20 years getting ready to run in politics. I've been a business owner, and I've been a member of my community. I'm a court-appointed special advocate for children. I work for Rotary. I've done other fundraising. I was on the executive board for the 34th Legislative District as well. And now I want to do more. I want to serve, and I want to serve on City Council. Thank you.
Hello. Thank you for allowing me to join you today. I really appreciate the opportunity to have a chance to address you and hopefully get your support. My name is Lisa Herbold. I'm running for Seattle City Council District 1 to represent South Park and West Seattle. As some of you know, I'm a longtime member of District 1, a longtime resident of District 1. I've lived in Highland Park for 15 years, where I've raised my daughter, who's now an adult, has a family of her own, lives in High Point. I have 2 grandchildren who both attend Stanislaus Elementary in Delridge, where my daughter is also the PTA secretary there. So I have long commitment to this community as well as deep roots in it. And that commitment and those roots mean, I believe, in taking a stand for equity. Equity means a lot of different things. FDR talked a lot about equity. In his second inaugural address, FDR said, "The test of our progress is not measured by our adding to the prosperity of those with much. It is addressing the needs of those who have little." To me, equity can mean everything from addressing income inequality to addressing access to opportunity. It means making sure that we have a fair distribution of finite public services so that the neighborhoods that most need investment in infrastructure get that investment. Equity means that developers pay their fair share and they do their part to ensure that the prosperity that they benefit continues beyond the latest building boom. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. You are candidates ahead. Just to let you know, we have there's at least 2 others who have declared themselves Democrats in this race that have not shown up here. Also, 2 of them are not Democrats that are also in the field of, I think, 11 if there are. So with that, we're going to go ahead and send questions for all of our candidates. So I'm going to give Mr. Fleetwood, we'll share the mic with Mr. Fleetwood. Do you need a mic?
They'll probably need more than me.
Okay, so this side we'll start with the east side.
Okay. So these questions are pretty general. I'm actually going to ask probably for each of you. This question comes from Toshiko. It's, can you please speak to the state of police-community relationships and the upcoming implementation of body cameras?
Great question. The state of community and police relationships is definitely a work in progress. There's a lot of work to be done. I am a firm believer that responsive policing needs to also include making sure that our police department treats its residents fairness and without racial bias. There's a lot of work that still needs to be done to implement the recommendations of the Community Police Commission. There are 52 recommendations, and we're in the middle of contract negotiations with SPOG, and it's really important for both the police and the elected officials who are negotiating that contract to really find common ground, because I think it's in everybody's best interest that we have a police department that treats people, again, fairly and without racial bias.
Thank you. The fact is, we're in a point right now where we need to get back to where the police stand for to protect and serve. It's been way too long now where it's been to punish and enforce. And the fact is that needs to change, and it can, because for the most part, the police that work for us are excellent, and they do a wonderful job. I mean, as a public defender over the last 10 years, I've had thousands of cases, and I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. And for the most part, it's good police doing a good job for everybody. But we need a new contract with the union that has more teeth in it and oversight. We need leadership with the police that are paying attention to what all of their police are doing and read the reports when they find out police are doing things that are wrong. And we need more police on the ground, walking the beat, being in and amongst the people, talking to us, being our friends and being our support. And like I said, protect and serve is important, and I think body cams are necessary. I've had plenty of cases that I've seen where a police officer, if there's a camera in the car, a camera on the grill of the car, we know exactly what happened. The police are protected and the citizens are protected, and I think that's a great combination. But I support them wholeheartedly, and I support going forward, making it a better situation where we respect the police the way we should all the time.
I think it's currently a matter of trust. I don't trust the police when I see them. They don't seem to trust me either. But that doesn't stop me from going up and talking to them and asking them questions, much to the consternation of many of my friends as we're moving through the world. The other day I saw 2 King County bike cops and 3 Fairman enforcement officers giving one gentleman a failure to pay ticket. And then I saw 3 SPD on the opposite corner, and I went and asked them if 5 to 1 was a usual ratio for fare enforcement. And I mean, that ruffled their feathers a little bit, but I just thought it was a tiny bit of overkill. And the answer I got was, well, they're not going to attack us if we move in packs. That's how the gangbangers do it. Wowzers. Okay. So maybe we could start with a little bit of trust. Maybe we could, I'd love to trust the fact that police officers are looking out for me. And I think that actually starts with just basic conversation and civility in those situations. I definitely agree with increased community policing, which I know costs money. It costs money to get police officers out of cars, and it lowers response times across the city. I also think that the police should be held accountable for equal response time, because a stolen car in South Park is as important as a stolen car in the Anvil Junction. It's still property crime. And also into body cams in particular, I don't think that it's the entirety of the solution, because I think, again, that human interaction is key, but I'm really glad we're moving somewhere on accountability. And I also hope that we're working hard on transparency and getting access to those video files in a timely way.
I too am eager to see change at the institutional level for our racial disproportionality that we have in our justice system. We have to be aware that it is there. I think we've been in denial about that for a very long time. And so building that trust again, I think the moves that Chief O'Toole and her deputy are making are very promising. I think that we're seeing from the Seattle Police Union some really good public conversation about how our police officers need to be behaving in the roles that they are serving. And so I want to see more of that community policing. I want to see, in our Southwest precinct, we're excited to have a couple of extra bike police, you know. I mean, the fact that we get excited about that because they're on the ground, they're more engaged, they're more likely to carry on conversations, know our neighbors, is a big deal. So I want to see more of that progress as we're moving forward, and I will certainly be interested in holding the chief and the police department accountable for that as a city council member. As far as body cams go, I'm excited about the potential for more transparency and accountability, and I am also pleased that we are paying attention to the civil rights issues involved as far as the recordings go as well. So I'm curious to see how we evolve on that issue, but I certainly in concept support body cams as a transparency option.
All right, do we have another question?
We've got about 3 or 4 questions.
Okay, so next question, we'll give it, so you'll be answering the next question, right?
So what's your position on the $15 minimum wage, and what else can Seattle do to raise the standard of living?
Well, I mean, the easy thing, we have a $15 an hour minimum wage now, and it's going to get brought in over several years, and this is a good thing. I mean, it's good because we're going to catch up with some of the losses that we've had in cost of living increases that we haven't seen. I think there are some interesting reactions to it, seeing what Ivar is doing, that they're just jumping up to 15 right away, and they're doing away with tips. I think this is an interesting thing that we can do. The fact is, you know, quality of life and the money we're making isn't just going to happen from increasing minimum wage. That's going to be about having a city that overall is more successful. It's bringing in more jobs, it's making sure that the people we have that aren't employed right now can find employment, which is fixing our educational system, things like the community colleges we have, and bolstering the type of education we can put people through. The unions, I know I've gone through some tours now with some of the unions in Seattle, and I'm blown away by how incredible their training and preparation is. And it's all the things like that. It's just making people more prepared for the workforce, improving the quality for our business owners, and having a city that's much more reactive about working with its businesses to provide all the things they need to succeed. As we said before, if Seattle succeeds, every single person in Seattle succeeds.
I'm the biggest fan of $15 an hour that maybe ever lived, except for Eric Sherman over there, who's on the field team as well. I mean, we stuck in a truck for 14 days chasing ballots to make sure they could pass in CTEC, which it did by 77. Other things I think we can do in the city of Seattle is have the city follow through on its promises for gender pay equity within the city and create a culture where gender pay equity is a priority, just like we did with sick and safe time, just like we did with phasing in a $15 minimum wage. This is something that we can lead on. I do get a little bit nervous with some of the tech boom, that that culture is particularly divisive when it comes to gender pay equity, and it's all over town and in every one of our neighborhoods. So that's a culture change that I think that we can address with a little corporate accountability. And in terms of making Seattle livable, the next thing that's a question is obviously affordable housing. Right now, it costs $22 an hour in King County to find a 2-bedroom apartment, so 15 is a good start, but we got $7 left to go. I think that we're using community workforce agreements around the region is a good way to do that. Apprenticeship programs create livable wage jobs are a viable alternative. Right now, we're looking at 50 jobs a year in the city of Seattle. If we change that to a regional endeavor, that's 400 new jobs a year. The people that are in a pipeline for a long-term livable wage you can raise a family on and actually find some place to live in the city that you can finally afford to pay for.
Definitely a supporter of $15 minimum hour wage. Minimum, yes, there you go. I'm in on that. And I've got to give a shout out to gender pay equity as well. I think it's really important. I think as a working mother, knowing that differential, particularly for women who work and have children and how they are punished for that in some ways in their salaries, is really important for the city to be paying attention to. And then I also want to talk a little about the universal pre-K that's moving forward. I think that, while it's further out, is a really good baseline where we're starting. We need to support children and families in their early years so that they have the opportunity and the access early on, so that they're moving forward at the same level as many of their peers. And I also, for the laborers and the apprenticeship and the training, I want to see us work with the Office of Labor Standards to be sure that we are implementing our minimum wage laws, our wage theft laws. I want to see robust enforcement of that at the city. And I want to see us working harder to get our coordinating perhaps a little bit more with the Office of Economic Development and with our unions as we're moving forward for not just community workforce agreements, but other possible training programs that I think are out there that the city perhaps could get more involved in helping provide support for those as well.
Definitely a supporter of the $15 minimum wage. One thing I neglected to mention in my opening statement is I'm the 17-year staff member for Councilmember Nick Licata. So we were really involved in the implementation and passage, development of that legislation. But as well, one of the things I'm most proud of having worked for Councilmember Licata is the development of the paid sick and safe leave ordinance. It's before its passage in 2011, 190,000 workers in Seattle did not have paid sick and safe leave. 3 days sick is a week's worth of groceries for an average family. So that is definitely an income inequality issue for low-income folks without access to paid sick and safe leave. But whether or not you're talking about that law or the minimum wage or our laws against wage theft, our labor laws are only as good as their enforcement. And so I've also been involved in the development and funding of the city's new Office of Labor Standards. And I'm involved in making sure that it gets up off the ground and that the community grants that are intended to fund worker education so workers know what their rights are, get out the door, and are implemented in such a way that they accomplish what they're intended to accomplish. These things are all really critical. One other point is the priority hire program that the council passed this year. Of the projects that are city-funded projects, only 25% of the workers on city-funded projects are city residents.
15%.
So priority hire will help with apprenticeship programs and pre-apprenticeship programs, which will get these workers ready to work on these projects. Thank you.
One final question. Everyone has issues that are near and dear to their heart. What I'd like to know is, what is the one thing that you hope to accomplish in your first term? How would you build consensus on the council towards making it happen? And what would that issue be?
You have 1 minute.
Yep.
I'm going to go with our relationship with the Seattle Police Department. I think for me, that's one of the biggest things that we can actually hit the ground running on. We have a set of 52 directions from the federal government that we can follow and really work to enforce. I mean, I think that the best way to create consensus is you hear all the different perspectives that are in the room, and sometimes, you know, you've got the Policeman's Guild, who they have the strength of their bargaining unit, and then you've got the everyday person on the street, to which these words mean nothing. Creating conversations in the in-between. Chief O'Toole's done a great job of going out to communities and starting those conversations, but really getting policemen to know the people that they serve, and also addressing the fact that so many of the police live outside of the city, so I think some of the values that they're bringing in with them don't match the values that we have in the 11th district.
I think so.
Very good.
Okay, well, with 1 minute and just one topic, there are several things I'm interested in working on, but the thing I can think of now that I can really focus on in that first year is transit and transportation connections for District 1. I think in our district in particular, being out on the peninsula, those can be very challenging. And so I would like to see particularly increased revenues toward the Route 120, which doesn't just serve actually through West Seattle, but moves on into Erie, but is one of the most highly used bus lines that we have. And we do have some opportunity with a regional partnership fund that is part of Proposition 1 that the city of Seattle passed to potentially put more dollars there. So I'd certainly work to do that. I would also like to see some ways to get more connections to, for example, our water taxi that we have in Admiral. I'd like to see neighborhoods further into West Seattle have easier access to that. And I would certainly be bringing folks from King County Metro, folks from the City of Seattle Department of Transportation to the table to work on those issues.
So the issue that I would like to accomplish in my first year on the Seattle City Council is also the issue that is most near and dear to my heart, and I think it's also one of the biggest challenges before Seattle, and it's addressing affordable housing. But the item that I want to work on in particular as it relates to addressing affordable housing is developing a preservation plan for existing affordable housing. We can't build our way out of this problem. The building of units, adding supply, even if we earmark units for affordable housing, a housing levy, all of those things together are all focused on building new units. We also have to preserve our existing affordable housing stock, and that means by making sure that landlords invest in the ongoing repair so that property doesn't fall into speculative forces and get redeveloped. And it means identifying opportunities to fund the preservation of the existing housing.
The first thing I'd really address is the fact that West Seattle and South Park, and specifically large parts of West Seattle, are changing. And they're changing in ways that people who live there don't like. And I think what I would want to address first is development and how this is going forward. And part of that is engagement, is going out into the communities in West Seattle and South Park and making sure people understand what's happening and the differences between the design process, the review process, between zoning issues, and so that they understand those, so that the development that's happening is something people want, that we've got enough parking, that developers are paying their fair share, and that we're not creating problems. But that's the best part of this new district voice, is it's someone from our community on the city council working with the people who represent the whole city and the other 7 districts, making sure, the other 6 districts, making sure that we're all on the same page. And so that's the big thing, is build that consensus and make sure that Seattle's growing in the way that the people who live here want to see it happen.
First of all, I want to say thank you to all of our candidates for position 1. Please give them a wonderful round of applause. A little better than what you thought it was, right? Go ahead, please take your seats. Ladies and gentlemen,